Folks, I'm your host, BKP. I have to run through some things very quickly. I'm going to finish up the governor's race. They have moved in President Trump, Kelly Pompeo, John Huntsman, the ambassador over there. They have moved into the full talks. We are expecting around 9:50, but they just went in there, so it may not be 9:50. They were expecting around 10 o'clock. There will be a live press conference in Helsinki. If the world does not end, if Vladimir Putin and Trump don't get together and put their hands together to push some red button just to end the world as they had planned earlier, according to the media on the left, just joking, the media on the left, they're going crazy. They don't want you to forget that Vladimir Putin is a former KGB Andrea Mitchell spy master. Well, he was a spy master all the way to Clinton, and we did the timeline there, and President Trump's got to sweep up the mess again once made. You remember that little Chechnyan thing back in 2000, Bill Clinton said, but I like old Putin. I think he's a good guy. I think I can work with him. Media didn't go crazy then, but they are now. Trump going around the world, sweeping up the EU. The EU, a foe. Do you not think maybe that Brexit was part of, like the British people didn't say, we don't see them as the greatest ally, trading partners, and the best voice for us and the best value for the buck. The EU obviously was not the best bang for the buck for the people in Britain, but us, hey, we say they look like our foe. Do some research, folks. The EU is not your friendly trading neighborhood partner, okay? They tag along. You know that person that knows you until you stop the money? That's the EU, okay? So let's just say that. Moving right along. Now, I got a message, and there's a couple things. Put up the picture of Hunter Hill. Okay, Hunter Hill is going to endorse tomorrow, is our understanding. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Hunter Hill will be endorsing Brian Kemp. Okay, be endorsing Hunter Hill. I'll be endorsing Brian Kemp tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Now, what that says to me is Hunter Hill has looked at this very closely, and Hunter Hill has looked at the Clay Tippins tape. He's probably vetted some things. He's probably talked to Brian Kemp. They probably have gone through some things, and Hunter Hill, to me, is going to bring some credibility. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there when you get into the whole discussion of the tape and how it was put together by Clay Tippins, and you get into the Second Amendment and some things that you feel Hunter Hill has said in the past, but bringing integrity, honesty, that's a good guy, all right? I'm just telling you, Hunter Hill's a good guy. That's a good guy, a good, honest man right there. See, I think that will help boost the grassroots, push them to the roof. Now, to answer the person that sent me a text message, I'm going to read this text message to you, okay, on the NRA in Ollie North. Now, as you well know, I enjoyed it. I went to the fish fry. I had fish. I ate the fish. The coleslaw was great. It was one hell of a good fish fry, okay? So here it is. Here's the text. The NRA chose Casey Cagle because he is the best choice, obviously. Okay, I'm not going to go with best choice, but yes, they obviously chose. Casey Cagle. Obviously, they did. So fine. Obviously, I understand it. Obviously, because of the N and the Delta, which we all know that Delta's going to win in the end, and it was all hoopla. And now I have a challenge out there. In fact, Amanda, pay attention just a second, because I know I got to go. See if we can get Mike Williams on the show. Michael. See if we can get Michael on the show, okay? Because I'm not going to quote it, but there's a little story. You remember the Clay Tippins audio? I know. What a smartass, right? But you remember the Clay Tippins audio just a couple weeks ago where it was behind closed doors? My understanding, a whip count, okay, behind closed doors, the morning after the NRA flap, the Delta came out with the tweet. I just want to clear it up. Delta come out with a tweet, right? Pay attention. We're discontinuing our relationship with the NRA. The world is freaking out. Okay? They're canceling their Delta reservations right then. You have this tax credit, this jet fuel tax credit, which will benefit Delta by a couple $1 million, right, or whatever, millions of dollars. And my understanding behind closed doors that morning, this is just my understanding, I can't quote it, that a whip count was taken. It was in there cracking a whip, and Casey Cagle, Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle, did not have the votes because of the Delta NRA outrage behind closed doors, did not have the votes. Now, I can't quote this, but my understanding is if he had the votes, he'd have brought it to the floor. But he found out behind closed doors, my understanding, I can't quote this, he didn't have the votes. So he came out. That's when the word is from senators that he came out, okay, and opposed this strongly of what Delta did, and that's what won him the big national headlines everywhere, Fox News. I mean, he was a hero. So I understand the NRA, okay, endorse it. That happened behind closed doors too. Anyhow, then I was also desperate, what GOP candidate would not take the NRA endorsement? He took the NRA endorsement. I'm not saying he didn't get the NRA endorsement. I'm not saying the NRA would not have said they endorsed him. But I'm going to tell you something. If the NRA was sitting up there in Washington, D.C. or wherever they're from, I don't know the headquarters, all right? It is at Chris Cox at the NRA. Get down to some people you don't know the names. If they were sitting up there at the NRA, and Casey Cagle was 38% in the poll to Brian Kemp's 25%. So if you'd come out of the election in the most recent poll last week that was released with Kemp up 44 to 41, okay? If you'd have come out of that, and last week it would have said Casey Cagle 36, Kemp 27, I do not think you would have seen Oliver North from the NRA down there in Georgia. I think, you know, they may have sent something out, hey, vote Casey Cagle, the NRA endorsed candidate, but I don't think he would have been down here because I'm just telling you a week before, what if Brian Kemp wins? I really don't think, and the NRA owes it to Casey Cagle because he came out and whatever you think, he made it look like, boy, he took on Delta, which Delta didn't care because Delta's already said as Casey Cagle is the candidate, we're going to endorse him and we're going to work for him or help him. That's my understanding. You can Google it. All right. So Delta's not as upset as people would think. And then the impression you get is that Casey Cagle really went after Delta and showed them who was boss. Interesting. Largest private employer in the state of Georgia, and he showed them who was boss. So anyhow, the whole hoopla, and he ends up getting the NRA endorsement. What if Kemp wins next Tuesday? Then the NRA's got to come back the next day and put out a statement that Brian Kemp's the man for the job, when just a week before that, you've got none other than Oliver North saying the only NRA. I mean, I hope they don't take my video. I hope they do, because the only candidate that qualifies for the NRA endorsement or whatever is Casey Cagle. So let me get past that. I'm just saying, okay, don't think you would have seen it. Now, we got a week. Okay, Hunter Hill's going to endorse, put Kemp and Cagle side by side. Put the picture so I can close this show up. All right. I know what people don't like some of my examples. If I could ever get the picture side by side, not Hunter Hill, what the hell? What do I got to do? I want Kemp and Cagle side by side. Can I get it today? No, not that. Oh, well, leave that one there. What's that say? Does that say? Yeah, what's it say? Kemp is at what? And this was 2 days ago. Kemp is at what? I can't hear you. Can you tell me? What's it say Kemp's at in that? Kemp's at 44, Cagle's at 41, right? Release two. Now put the other one with them side by side. Okay, there you go. Now leave it there. Now, the closest to me, because I look the opposite way, so I don't know if it's right or left. Let's see, what is it? That wouldn't be it. That would be it. Okay, the guy closest to me, Brian Kemp. And then opposite, not right now. Brian Kemp, Casey Cagle. Now, here's the difference if you watched yesterday's debate. Casey Cagle looks like, is portrayed and set up by his campaign staff as a career. He tried to make a break and ask Brian Kemp, how can you portray being an outsider? Cagle tried to pin it on him yesterday. It didn't work. All right? So here's the thing. Cagle went after Kemp about the massage therapist. Have you seen the commercials? Now, I'm going to ask Brian Kemp this tomorrow. I want to know, what's the truth? In the state of Georgia, you have regulated occupations. Massage therapy is a regulated occupation. You file for your occupational license and have to meet the requirements through the Secretary of State. Once the Secretary of State sends you the occupational license that you have, that you've met the requirements, okay, then if a massage therapist inappropriately does something and there's something filed against him at the Secretary of State, Secretary of State has to send it to the massage therapist review board. Now, let me just tell you something. We'll get into it tomorrow with him. We're going to stay on this all week. Every occupational, and you can text me now if I'm wrong, but every occupational license that requires a license, like I'm gonna call it a beautician. Did I get that wrong? All right, somebody wants to do hair cosmetology. You have to have so many hours, this, and this, and you have to have this, whatever schooling or whatever, because you have to get an occupational license. Every occupational license in the state of Georgia has a review board. And if you misuse your occupational license, you file a complaint to the Secretary of State's office, okay? The Secretary of State goes through, compiles the investigative report, sends it to the review board. It's up to the review board. Now, my understanding is the Secretary of State at no time has the right to pull your license. It's called due process. But now Casey Cagle doesn't want due process. No, if you do something, you don't get due process if you're Casey Cagle. All you got to do is make an accusation to the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State should pull your qualifications and your licensing right then. Watch the debate. Where's due process? The state of Georgia is set up. Now, the occupational license review boards for all of these occupations, they're put together by the governor of the state. So the only thing the Secretary of State can do is take your complaint, put your complaint through investigators, and we know in insurance and Secretary of State there's not enough investigators at all, okay? But put it through an investigation, put the report together, and send it to the Occupational License Review Board. They review it, and they go from there and maybe pull your license. But yesterday on a debate, I'm sorry to say, Casey Cagle was not very supportive of due process. Not very supportive. He misunderstood the due process of the Secretary of State because I'm sorry, desperate. They're running commercials right now, okay? Leading you to believe that people are being abused in massage therapy, therapy places by a masseuse all over the state of Georgia, and Brian Kemp's behind this dark thing because he got a campaign donation. What in the world? I mean, I'm telling you, they're trying everything, all right? So here's the thing, because I got to wrap up. Casey Cagle, 24 years. I'm going to end with saying what I started. I actually like the guy, and I'm really just talking running a political campaign, and what a disappointment what his campaign's done. And if he wins, hey, listen, if he wins, I will be saying, hey, he is the candidate to go up against Stacey Abrams next Wednesday morning. All right? One more thing. If it's true, we're going to ask Brian Kemp. Okay, Brian Kemp, personally guaranteed. Folks, everybody in business knows, okay, that you have to personally guarantee. The world of just letting a corporation stand for its own is over. Years ago, and let me get this out really quickly. Years ago, a corporation would file for credit or go to the bank or go to a big supplier of materials or something like that. And the principals of the corporation, no matter how deep they are, would say, no, I'm not giving my Social Security number and I'm not signing a personal guarantee. Okay? Not doing it. All right? Now, I will tell you this. I haven't asked, and I'm going to ask tomorrow so he knows ahead of time. But they wouldn't do it years ago. So there was major collapses. Corporations just folded up, and it was a risk you didn't get. I mean, it's a risk you didn't get through. You just lost your money. So several years ago, all of your banks, all of your big material suppliers, all of the suppliers of any hard products, they require personal guarantees. It don't matter if you're a corporation. They require them. All the principals to give a Social Security, they won't open accounts for you. The bank will not do anything anymore for a corporation without somebody personally guarantee it. That's the other thing. Now, Casey Cagle wants to portray like he doesn't understand how business works. Now, Brian Kemp continues to say he was an 8% shareholder in this company. Okay? Now, what I want to ask you tomorrow is how many other names are on the personal guarantor? Is he the only personal guarantor? And maybe he just took the heat on himself and there's other principals in the business, but he said he only had 8% share. Now, that being said, Casey Cagle has a friend in the bank that gave Brian Kemp the loan, or the company, the loan that he guaranteed. Brian Kemp said yesterday they've tried to work out a payment plan and have the corporation stand up to the payment plan and keep it so they can honor what they told the bank. But, these are Brian Kemp's words, that Casey Cagle's friend is wanting to drag this out so it could not be settled. So Kemp can't say, we settled it, there's a deal in place, there's payment arrangements made, and we are honoring the debt. They want to leave it open till after the election, is what Kemp said. So that being said, here's the thing. It's this simple. Casey Cagle looks, from his campaign team, he looks like a guy that is handled, managed, I keep saying has an elite look, has a insider look, has a career politician look, has canned answers. He's totally painted this way. And then you got Brian Kemp over here, and no disrespect, please, everything I'm saying is not disrespectful. And you got Brian Kemp over here that he's in the debate, and he leans to the side all the time, and he got that little grin, and he leans to the side, and he's in the debate, and it's like the whole time he's in the debate, he's thinking, when's this thing going to be done? Because, you know, I run in NASCAR this afternoon. He's got that look like he's ready to go run in NASCAR. Here, the other one. Now, here's the interesting thing: is your runoff primary Republican voters are hardcore Trump supporting, for the most part, NASCAR fan voters. And you got one guy looks like he's ready to run in NASCAR this afternoon, talks like it, acts like it, and you know, I think they're half afraid that he will go down and be governor from, you know, like 8 o'clock in the morning to 11, and then he will run over to Athens and load a truckload of wood for you. I think he knows what a cord is. Do you know what a cord is? Would you know how to buy a cord of wood? I think Brian Kemp knows that. That's just my opinion. I'm your host, BKP. I got to go. It is time for instant replay. We're going to do it all week. We're going to do it all week, and I got to get done so I can go in here and listen to the president's press conference in Helsinki. We'll get more into that tomorrow, but this week we are going to basically focus on the governor's race. Last but not least, I find it interesting first of all, I got to do this. I know I need to get out of here. Cagle is doing a third bus trip, and Wednesday, he's going to be at Gilmer County at the Oakland Clubhouse in Ellijay from 5:30 to 7:30. It's interesting. He's going to be right here in Ellijay. And then I got an email from the Kemp campaign this morning that said The Dooley family. It's gone to the dogs. This campaign has gone to the dogs. We've got the Colonel involved. We've got the Colonel. We've got the Hill. We've got the Tippins, and now it's gone to the dogs. And we may have a deal before it's over. But on July 24th, ignore the hogwash and the baseless attacks and join the Dooley family in voting Kemp for governor. After 40 years, we are confident in saying that Brian Kemp is a damn good dog. He's not just a dog. That old boy's a damn good dog, and we can trust him to lead our state forward. Go Dogs, the Dooley family. Switch that zip code. I'm out. It's time for Instant Replay, North Georgia's only live sports show, right after these messages.